And just to prove to you how committed I am to physical Mavuika, blam and blam. When Mavuika first released, I did a infusion-based Mavuika video, you know, using Chungyun, Candace, C6 Bennett, because I really like Mavuika's normal attacks. I don't particularly care for bicycle, this, you know, and these animations are really fun, but I want to try physical. The reason I didn't try physical, though, was because, you know, she's still an attack scaling damage dealer, and being that I had C6 Bennett, I couldn't really do physical with an attack buffer. Except now, Iansan buffs a similar enough amount to Bennett, but also provides Electro, which is part of the superconduct reaction. That is a buff to her physical damage, right? Point being, I should be able to do physical Mavuika now and be quite happy about it. And blam. We now have a 383% multiplier on our charge attack, and yes, the burst is forever staying level 1. I am not actually planning on using Mavuika's burst at all in this video. Yes, you probably should, right? Like it's going to give her damage bonus to herself, and it can get a big instance of damage. But Mavuika's burst will take away from like how much of the team's damage is physical damage, and we're already going to have pyro damage going on because, you know, we want to use her skill. One, because it's going to be dealing damage, and damage is nice. We can get, you know, pyro damage and physical damage at the same time, and I think that's part of the fun of doing, you know, on-field Mavuika with her normal and charge attacks. But also using her skill, you know, drains Night Soul, and that means we can use the set that gives us a bunch of crit rate. It is possible to use, you know, 4-piece Pale Flame, or maybe even something weird and silly like 4-piece Bloodstained. Pale Flame artifacts give you attack percent and a bunch of physical damage bonus. And then Bloodstained is kind of funny because after an enemy dies, your charge attack stamina goes to 0. So you can kind of just spam this charge attack. You can see it's quite expensive to spam this ability. So we're not really going to be doing that. We're going to be trying to do a combo that's something more like 2 normal attacks and then a charge attack is probably optimal, I suspect. The plan is to use Farina, by the way, because one of the few methods of buffing physical damage, because, you know, cranking up your damage bonus that you have. So, yep. Farina's Hydro is, of course, going to cause us to probably get Vaporizes. Get out of your stupid motorcycle mode. We're probably going to get, you know, her Pyro hits from her skill, triggering Vaporizes, or even maybe melts from off-field. So I'm not actually confident that the physical damage is going to be more than her skill's Pyro damage. Even with Mavuika being, you know, on a physical goblet and whatever, the pyro damage might still be meaningfully higher. Here's the build, by the way, with the buff up. Oh yeah, her signature weapon, this buff with the crit damage and attack percent buff is up for 6 seconds, and you have to do an elemental hit with normal charge attack damage to get the extension. I could get the extension by like jumping on the motorcycle and doing a normal attack. I'm not going to. No. Which means only partial uptime for this. It should still be a very good weapon for her. I also have C1. C1 actually might muck with my ability to get the superconduct reaction triggered because, you know, this gives her skill, her pyro, like 18-second uptime. And that's a long enough amount of uptime that it might screw with our ability to get a reaction with Iansan and Sitlali. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I haven't messed with it yet. Now, other things, I have nobody on scroll on this team, even though, you know, these 2 characters could be on 4-piece scroll. Reason being, I don't want to buff the pyro damage, and scroll doesn't buff physical damage, so I'm doing everything I can to buff physical damage. And that means we're putting Noblesse on Iansan. I have 4-piece Tenacity on Farina. I do have C2 Farina. Yes, we are abusing the fact that I have C2 Farina today. I'll mention some alternatives. I'm doing that because I think it's what makes sense to get the biggest satisfying physical numbers possible. This is her build. It's not a particularly amazing build on Tenacity, but, you know, again, buffing as much as possible. Sitlali, I have C1, and that is actually the main reason I'm using Sitlali here, is 1, she will enable, hopefully, Superconduct, which is Resistant Shred. And we have our 2-piece build in order to try to maximize the amount of EM she has in order to get as much of a buff as possible. I am not going to use our signature weapon, though. We are going to use R5 Prototype Amber. I can equip this piece with a little bit less ER and more EM, so we have 900 EM, and that should be enough ER. This is enough healing in conjunction with C2 Farina that we should keep up the full damage bonus. Rosaria is also an interesting option, at least with her C6, that is. 20% physical red shred from her burst hitting enemies. So with Rosaria, maybe you could do something like Yelan or Singcho instead as a more budget option, right? But I'm doing my high investment option because this should be the way to see the highest physical numbers possible. That's my goal. As long as I can trigger Super Duck consistently, which I might not be able to. Again, like, Mavuika's high uptime, get off the Mavuika's high uptime ability on her Pyro might really screw with my ability to get Super Conduct. I'm pretty optimistic because of the fact that Iansan can be swapped into to do this Electra application, and that I think will help me get Super Conduct with good uptime, but we'll see. Main thing I'm thinking for rotation is going into Iansan first, and hopefully trigger Super Conduct. I did there. And then we do Mavuika E and go to town at 55k, alright. And charge attack of 65,000, nice. Alright, and yeah, we did fall under the buff threshold. We run out of, by the way, this is an AoE situation, so we've run out of Sit Lolly buff. I was spending too long on field. We run out of Sit Lolly buff pretty fast, which is, no, sorry, I'm having a stroke, it's fine. Blap. And how much damage are we getting from her skill, by the way? Oh, a lot. Oh boy. Especially the ones that melt. I think we're doing slightly. Okay. Shoot. Okay. Look. The problem is This I think is the way I maximize physical Mavuika's damage. Like it's a lot of physical damage, okay? But also it's definitely more pyro damage. It's not my fault. I mean, I guess we could just not E. 72,000. Let's go. Still nowhere near. And like, yes, I know we could do plunge physical, but I don't like plunging because I think that's one. I want to do the like fantastic normal attack animations. I need to. Her stupid C1 is kind of annoying here. I don't know how to feel. I don't know how to feel about this. Like, it's a very competent amount of damage, but you know, we can't lie to ourselves. That wasn't exactly very physical emphasized, you know. And this is without me doing things that would be like optimal, like putting Mavuika on an attack % goblet so that, you know, we balance the physical damage and the pyro damage, and putting Scroll on Sit Lolly or Iansan, I suppose. So like, is this physical Mavuika? I mean, okay, I guess what we can do is we can change her artifacts around and just try not using her skill. All right, I put her on Dia's weapon and 4-piece Marshasei Hunter because, you know, we have Farina, so Farina will give crit rate and its normal attack bonus too. So, you know, we have 1977 attack and 64 crit rate, 243 crit damage. Should be pretty good. And we'll just try not using the skill and see how that compares. Like obviously using the skill is still good. I don't really like the idea of not using the skill because, like, whenever I do shenanigans, I like to try to utilize the character's kit in some way. And I think the fun of trying to do, you know, these shenanigans with Mavuika as a physical DPS or, you know, infusion DPS with their normal and charge attacks is that, you know, you get to see these animations and still utilize the fact that her skill does this pyro hit, right? She can be a dual element damage dealer, right? Physical and pyro, or hydro and pyro, or cryo and pyro with Chungyun, right? So we'll see how good this is, though. This will help us get Super Conduct with more consistently, so that's something. All right, bam. And charge attack 84,000. All right, I missed. Okay, well, you know, I mean, look, this is definitely more true to the idea of physical Mavuika, that's for sure. You know what? How about we try this first in Abyss? And then if it's too much of a struggle, we can move back. We are not going to do the first side. Chamber 2 is enemies that are physical resistant, and then there's just all kinds of annoying shield mechanics, and if you didn't know, physical damage is not exactly great against shields. Alright, I had a bad clear on the first side, but we'll see how this goes. I forgot to Farina Burst. That was not ideal. Don't forget to Farina Burst. Alright, and bam. 93, let's go. Alright, and bam. Alright, we got this. We got this. We absolutely got this, I believe. Oh, but the Farina energy situation is real bad. I have Pav on her, right? Oh god, yeah. What? How? What, of all things? I have like 230 ER on Farina. And yeah, so it's not good enough. This is why I use Scroll in these characters. Not on Brina, obviously, but... Oh, no. Oh, no. I'm just gonna go back to using Mavuika's skill. I already talked about how I prefer that anyways. Never mind, I actually had a good clear in the first side. Well, good-ish. Alright. I believe. We don't need to do no Mavuika skill. Alright. And bam. Should maybe try to kill this. Please, there we go. Okay. Alright, good. That. Oh boy. Not the Iansan energy. Oh no. Oh boy. Oh boy. Almost 100k. I hope we have some crit buffs or something in the next chamber. Let us get. I want to see over 100k on physical hits from Mavuika. That will be satisfying to me. All right, we got this. We got this. I used her skill of accident. Ah, crap! I can't do anything about that. That was not on purpose. Well, I had enough time. I'm pretty sure I would have killed without the skill. Yeah, I would have killed without the skill. Right? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, this was, my brain. It was such a good, legitimate clear without pyro damage. All right. Let's see how the Dorito goes. And charge attack. Ah, we got over 100k. Let's go. We're encroaching on, like, pyro damage territory. Do this, I suppose. Alright, we should just start a rotation over. Slap. And bam. Oh, so satisfying. So satisfying. Yeah, who needs pyro damage from Mavuika? No. You know what? This is funny. I think I am at least certain that she's a meaningfully better physical DPS than Eula, which is kind of sad, especially considering if you're sane, you should be doing, you know, Mavuika's pyro skill hit as well. Not what I'm doing. I don't want to. I guess I have to. All right. And we got a skill. Okay. Can I switch? The game is bugging out. It would not let me switch. Alright. And bam. Alright, what? That was nothing. What happened? Whatever, it's dead. It doesn't matter. We killed it. We're physical damage. Get wrecked. Chamber 3. Oh, we got crit. Chamber 3, in hindsight, I should have brought a better team than Overload to deal with the crab, but, we'll see. Alright, here we go. Actually, you know what? This wasn't that bad. I forgot to refresh Sky. That was dumb. This was not that bad. Alright, alright. I believe. This is a boss and a half though, so I might stop believing very shortly. Alright. And what are we getting while it's resistance up? 50k while resistance up, and we get to the shield phase pretty quick. All right, it's not bad. I have a dream. Go, come on, get your. You know what? Here, we can do this a little bit. Heal up. All right. No, we don't get on the motorcycle. Motorcycle not allowed. No. Okay. Flap. What do we get? Oh, look at that, 129,000. Juicy. All right. I believe. Okay. More rotation. And we got another pillar phase. Oh, all right. I believe. I think we got this. I'm so confident. First try on everything. Well, kind of. Not ignore the chicken face. Well, what am I doing? I got disoriented because I thought I was on the other pillar, and I was not on the pillar that I thought I was on. So I think we're fine. All right, clap. Slap. Alright, bam. And kill on a charge attack. Oh, not quite. And bam. Look, oh, I think Farina killed it. God dang it, Farina, you stole the thunder. Whatever. Farina was definitely not doing a majority of the damage there. But hey, I cleared with physical Mavuika without using her dang skill. But we are going to put her back on, you know, the other build I had before. Because I think it might be interesting to see what the difference is if I actually do use her skill in this same exact context. Alrighty, we're using her skill, back on the Codex build now. And I suspect our energy situation will be less bad because, you know, an extra 5 particles will be kind of nice. And, yep, 149,000. That is immediately meaningfully more damage. And mostly just changing the weapon and artifacts, giving me a little bit more crit value, blah, 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 to help me. Mostly the weapon is what gave me that extra stats there, I think. Yeah, we're going to be fine, safe to say. Slap, slap. Alright, and do that. Okay, I don't see, this is what I was talking about. I think the difference between why we didn't get 150k that time was we didn't trigger Superconduct. And that's the problem with freaking C1 Mavuika making her Pyro last longer, so that from the second rotation, I can't really trigger Superconduct. Alright, Mr. Dorito. That's... that proc. This, that, and that. And of course it spawned these ones. If it didn't spawn those ones, we probably could have killed them before it went invisible, which would have made it not go invisible at all. I guess we just restart rotation. Wow. Right, this time, second rotation now, we're gonna do this. Okay, I did trigger Superconduct that time. Bam. Yeah, there we go. Although still less than I saw before. I think the enemy had like a down phase or whatever. Anyway, this feels obviously a lot better. Go figure that adding, you know, a massive amount of potentially reactable skill damage is better. Okay, this should be pretty easy. Real question is, can we get 200k? You would dodge my hit. Obviously, we're not going to get 200k until it goes to its down phase, but that's fine. Just keep on whacking on it till then. Alright. Whack. Whack. Up. Right. This. And that's the same as we saw in Chamber 1. Okay, well, that's a little unexciting. Oh well. I was hoping for higher, but you know, it's fine. We're still out damaging Eula by like 8,000 times. I guess, funny realization. It's like, yeah, Mavuika was power creep of, every Pyro DPS in the game. And she's also power creep of every physical DPS in the game. Kind of, at least. But I have a lot more fun with this physical power creep than I do with, this, quite frankly. I'm not super happy with how they balance Mavuika, and I don't really care for the motorcycle gimmick either, in case it's not obvious. I don't care how you want to play this character. I just don't want to play her that way, right? And that's part of the reason I'm never leveling a burst, and in fact why I have stopped using her burst completely. This character does not have a burst to me, and in hindsight that means I probably shouldn't have bothered going for this ability, but it's still, sometimes it's nice to have for different teams. This character, most of the time, is basically just a glorified replacement for Xiangling for me with C1, and that's kind of what I wanted her for, and I'm happy with that. And then she has fun shenanigan potential with her normal attacks being, a big multiplier and having a fun, satisfying feeling animation. So yeah, I don't know. This was fun to do, and I know I actually don't regret leveling her burst to 10. I actually planned to do that a while ago, but I felt like it now with the Iansan's release, enabling like the physical Mavuika. It's a little weird how, she's still doing a lot of pyro damage. If I had a fully invested level 90 Xingqiu with a really good build, I think I would have considered trying the Rosario situation, and that would be a more like 4-star focused way to do this team, and I think that could be pretty cool as well. her normal attack physical multipliers are definitely enough to be able to get meaningful damage value. And I'm glad I have more options for, you know, buffing physical damage dealers thanks to Iansan. The physical shenanigans are back on the table for me, which I like. There's not that many better characters, I think, for physical shenanigans than Mavuika. So, yeah, I don't know. But let me know characters you want to see me do physical stuff with. Yes, I know Fremine is a physical DPS. I'll probably do a video on him at some point.